Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Friday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And the feelings I wanted to talk about today are the feelings of incredible gratitude and just amazing memories that were made this weekend. And for those of you who don't know, um, I was away with Benji, Judy, and the children for the weekend, and boy, did we do a lot of stuff, and lots and lots of memories going on that I'm sure that you all want to share with me. Before I get on to that, though, I just wanted to let you know that we do have some birthdays. Well, actually, first of all, we have the Canadian Thanksgiving on the 10th. For those of you who don't know, I live in Canada, and therefore we celebrate the Canadian Thanksgiving, not the American one. Well, we actually get forced to do the American one as well. And I don't think we have any other birthdays this week, so that I know of. So if you are a regular viewer or you watch the replays regularly, and I haven't mentioned your birthday this week and you got one, please let me know so that I can add it to our database. And by the way, that would be dearmamasal@gmail.com, or just leave a note here on the on the chat. All right, so we know we've got birthdays coming up next week and so forth, but we'll worry about those next week. So, what I wanted to do is to talk about making memories, and the memories that I have, nobody can take away. Do you agree with that? I saw a great quote, and it said, "The most beautiful things in life are not things, they're people and places, memories and pictures, they're feelings and moments and smiles and laughter." And I just thought that was such a wonderful quote to start with today, because it really does encapsulate exactly what happened for me this weekend. And, if I were to think about what is it that I feel more than anything about the weekend, is that I feel at peace. I was really concerned, for those of you who know, that I have not had a chance to be with Benji and Judy and the children through one reason and another. Um, I haven't had a chance to see them for 4 years. Between COVID, and then I got cancer, and then, you know, my passport disappeared, you name it, everything happened, and I haven't got to see them. And so the most wonderful thing was that we all agreed um, that it was time to change that. And so the most magical thing was, hi there, Jeannie, thank you for being here. The most magical thing was that they brought everybody with them, all the children. Now, for those of you who don't know, they got 5 little girls, ranging from, you know, sort of a year right the way up to 11. So, it was just like, it was an amazing experience. So first of all, Benji came to collect. They came up on 2 cars, um, and Judy had the twins with her, and she drove one direction, and then Benji came a different direction and picked me up, and he had Juliana, Isabella, and Leah in the car with him. Now, that's a pretty interesting mix of children. Yeah, Jeannie's saying, what a beautiful picture of you all. Hang on a second. Um, and as I talk about them, I will identify them on the picture, all right? What I loved about this picture was we didn't coordinate what we were going to wear. But isn't it amazing how we all wore the same sort of tone of color? For those of you who noticed that, it just blew my mind when I saw it afterwards. So anyway, so Benji came, and he had Juliana, who's now 11, with him, and little baby Isabella, and then Leah. Now, I had not met Leah or baby Isabella before. So, and obviously Juliana and I are old buds. So the incredible thing was that I went to the car. Now you must imagine that Leah is strapped into a car seat, and suddenly this door opens, and this face that she doesn't know looks at her and talks to her in a funny accent. And the most incredible thing was that she didn't scream. But Isabella? Oh, yeah, she screamed. And that was my first memory. My first memory was of meeting Juliana, and she screamed her lungs out when she saw me and heard my voice. And so of course, I just burst out laughing. Whereas 11 years ago, that reaction terrified me that they would never get to love me. you know, and now it's just like, okay, you'll get used to it eventually. You'll get used to it. Um, and yeah, Leah wasn't phased. I was really quite surprised because, Leah, would have expected to react the same way. So I was, pretty happy with that memory. So then the funny thing was, we both drove, in these two different directions, and we arrived at the house um, almost within a minute of each other. It was amazing. And, I don't know whether they were texting and made that happen, but it was just absolutely amazing that they went two completely different routes. And we arrived I would say within 1 or 2 minutes of each other. It was just like, I know that as we were backing up the driveway, Juliana said, "Oh, there's Mommy." And I'm going, "No, I don't think so, honey." And then what did I see? Yep, there's Mommy. um, but, interesting, uh, they had rented this house before. So it was like a second home to them. They all knew it. I didn't, but they all knew it. They knew exactly what was in there and where to find it and all those sort of things. But a really nice house, and it had two bedrooms with en suites, and luckily I had one. Obviously, Benji and Judy had the other one. And then they had two other bedrooms. Yeah, and then those two bedrooms shared another bathroom. So that was 4 bedrooms. But there was room on couches and stuff for probably another 10 people. Huge, huge house. And it had a complete downstairs playroom, with ping pong and corn toss and all sorts of fun things, which I'll talk about in a second. I think the biggest memory I had on meeting everybody again for the first time was, first of all, when Juliana arrived. The hug she gave me was a memory. When I say it was a memory, it just, I had not had that hug in a long time. And Juliana gives a hug that you remember. All right. You know, this is not a polite hug. This comes from the heart. And that almost made me cry, quite honestly. Just even talking about it nearly makes me cry. So now, then let me just tell Jody that we've managed to get in. For those of you who don't know, I had a bit of a problem getting in today. So I just want to make sure that Jody knows that we've in on another stream. Hang on, everybody. So, yeah, Jeannie's saying Juliana is a sweet and delightful young girl. That came across, Jeannie. You're absolutely right. And it came across time and time again. It was just like everything she did. And hopefully I will have examples of that as we go along. So my biggest memory of these, seeing Benji again, I'd seen him about 2 years ago. So I was okay with that. Benji and I are, we talk, in the meantime. So I was less aware of meeting Benji again as I was of meeting Juliana, who I hadn't seen. And by the way, if you think about it, she was 7 when I last saw her, I think, or about to be 7. and now she's about to be 11 next month. So you can imagine that's a big, big difference. And she went from being a 7-year-old to being, nearly an adult size. So that was quite, like a teenager, and it was just such a big difference. So one of the fun things when we got there was that the memory was that, of course, being who I am, I needed to go to my bathroom. So I went to my bathroom, and what I noticed was that the toilet paper looked like this. Right? Can you see that? Now, some of you probably know how to do that, but I thought, because I had forgotten that I know how to do that, that I would show you for those that would be interested. All right. So you imagine, in your guest bathroom being able to do that. It's really simple to do. What you do is you start off with just regular toilet paper like this, and then you just make you bend it over. This is difficult to see white against white, but what I'm doing is making the triangle thing. Okay, so you just bend it over twice like that, make that arrow, that triangle shape. Got it? And then what you do is you go to any faucet. And what I'm going to do is run the faucet and then wet the underneath of the faucet. And then I'm going to press this against the underneath it. Now, this is the faucet. I'm going to press up against it like that. Okay, ready? What do you think? Now, I know I didn't get it center. Get over it. Because I was just doing it. I didn't actually think about that at the time. I just pressed it. So for those of you who like that sort of thing, next time you have guests, it's really impressive to do. And depending on your faucets, you might want to test all the faucets in your house, because different faucets will have different imprints. Okay, so can you see that imprint versus this imprint? This one comes from my guest bathroom, and this one I really like. It's the one from, obviously, this faucet here in the kitchen. So I wanted to show you that. And what we didn't do much the first night. We were all pretty exhausted, quite honestly. And so my next memory, I know we ate something and I can't remember what it was, but it was, we had a lot of good fruit and vegetable, fruit and stuff like that, and cold cuts and so forth, but what I remember was breakfast the next morning. I did post a picture for some of you, but not all of you will have seen that. So let me get that picture for you. And that was of an omelette. Bear with me. And the reason I wanted to show you this was because it was such a great omelette. Let me hope I've got it here. I saw it earlier today, so I would have thought it was there. Oh, well. Yeah, Benji enjoys, Jeannie's saying Benji enjoys making breakfast for everyone. Benji enjoys cooking, period. All right. I don't think he minds whether it's for one person or a whole lot. He just seems to enjoy cooking. So what I found, and I'm still going to find this picture for you because it's really going to frustrate me. I literally had the picture up this morning on something. There it is. just didn't go down far enough. Okay, so look at that. That was breakfast. And what it was an omelette made of almost like a creamed cheddar cheese. I'm not quite sure what the cheese was, but it was like a white cheddar, but one that children enjoy. And you had some herbs in it as usual. But what he did is he crumbled, and I've never had that. Apparently, it's a thing. He crumbled potato chips on top. And so when you go to eat the omelette, you've got the crunch of the potato chips along with the succulent taste of the smooth taste of the omelette and the cheese and the herbs, but it's the crunchy bit. Now, I was thinking you could do that with all sorts of different things, right? You could crumble, for those of you who have, sort of these sort of onions, you could crumble those on top, or you could crumble maybe ramen noodles on top. But we had potato chips, and I was absolutely horrified. The fact that I actually saw potato chips, surprised me, because I don't think I've ever seen them before in Benji's house, and there were a lot of them. And it was just like, and now they're in the cooking, so very exciting for me. And what we found was that I really recommend it. If you haven't tried it, do so, please. It's a memory that I went, oh yeah, I'm going to do that again. Without a doubt, I want to do that again. So, one of the good things about making memories like this is that you learn so much. You not only get so much, but you learn so much. And I think that's something that I had missed. There's a quote here that says, "Things end, but memories last forever." And I want to tell you something that I definitely came away from this weekend thinking, if that is the last time I ever saw them, and I pray God that that's not true, but if it were the last time that I ever saw them, it would be such a wonderful thing to remember. So the interesting thing about doing the toilet paper thing that I was showing you, what I did was I took Juliana with me and showed her and said, did you want to know how they did that? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, let me show you. And I showed her, and then this is the wonderful thing, right, about everybody learns, right? And I said, now you can teach mommy. And she went, zoom, mommy, 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 mommy. And mommy happened to be in her bedroom, and she taught mommy, but she brought her to my bedroom. I don't know why she didn't think to take it to mommy's bathroom, but she came to my bathroom to show her. And I said to Judy, it'll work on any faucet, not just mine. But Judy was very impressed with. But anyway, we got up the next day and had the omelette, and then we had craft time, and I've been looking forward to that. As some of you know, I had taken time to make a lot of hang on a second, let me get them. I had made a lot of trees, Christmas trees like that, but I hadn't put them together and so forth. So what I did was I had cut them all out, but they were single. Now what they needed was to have quality control, and then they needed to be colored if they wanted to have them colored, and then put baubles on them if that's what they wanted, or whatever. And then we had this production line going, which I'll explain in a minute. But and then glue them together and make them stand up like that. So what I did was I said, okay, who's good at quality control? That was the first thing. And Mia offered to do that. So I showed her, we need somebody to to make sure that all those little holes, can you see the holes in the trees there? All right, that all the bits of paper were correctly pushed out. So, and I had brought with me, toothpicks so they could do that. So, got her doing that. Then we had, it was Mia. So then Kira was busy doing coloring. And then baby, well, not baby now, a toddler, Leah, was also coloring. It was so cute. And then I was showing Juliana how to put the trees together. So we had this little production line going. But what the memory was that after a while, everybody wanted to change what they were doing, perfectly normal. And little Leah, knee-high to a grasshopper, wanted to do quality control. Well, I want to tell you, Mommy wasn't in the room, and I'm thinking toddler and toothpick. Because that's what I had taken to push the bits of paper out with, toothpicks. But on the other hand, if that is what she really wanted to do, then what it meant was I just had to watch her like a hawk. And also to tell her that this could do a serious damage to her eye. And I want to tell you something. My memory of doing this was the absolute, first of all, the great way in which little Leah colored her trees. And also, who was it? I think it was Mia that did an incredible tree. Anyway, but it was the concentration little Leah had doing quality control and pushing out those little bits of paper. Who would have thought at that age? And it was quite obvious that she was thoroughly enjoying it, and she was more than capable of doing it. And my memory was, how many people would not have let her do it? That was what I was thinking, because she's small. But the thing was, she didn't once do anything that was at all dangerous. She was highly concentrated on what she was doing and did it really well. So I've just had a note from, hi there, Kimmy, good to see you. I've just had a note from Jody. She's also having problem getting on. So it wasn't just me today. Anyway, so she did this incredible quality control, and I was so impressed with it. But I thought, that they would get bored with it really quickly and, move on to the next thing. The incredible thing was that they stayed playing with it for the long time. Oh, how nice. Kimmy's just telling us that she's just got back from the dentist and she had a dry socket. Yeah, that's not fun, is it? Yeah, that hurts. So what my memory of it all was that I was so glad I took all the bits with me. I took, what did I take? I took, obviously, the pokey sticks, as we called them. We took pokey sticks. I took glue. Oh, the other thing was I then showed Judy, I had taken a village for her, and I showed her how to put the village and a charger plate. So I took a silver charger plate, and then I showed her what I did was I sprayed the charger plate with glue. Hi, Jody, well done. Anyway, I sprayed the charger plate with glue, and then I had taken some bicarb of soda, which apparently Americans call baking soda, but same thing, and just sprinkled it and said, okay, now we've got snow on the ground. And they went, that's so clever. And I said, the reason I use baking soda and not sugar or something is the bugs don't like baking soda, and it still looks like snow. And then what we did is we just attached I just put all the village on the plate so she could see how it went together. And I took a picture of it in the box so she could see how to put it away at the end of the Christmas time. And then we had a picture of it all, on the charger plate. So that was their Christmas present and of course what I had is the children make the extra trees that would go with it to make it into a really nice thing. However, we didn't stop there. I decided I would take with me a couple of extras, the chapel. Oh yeah, this one. I decided to take the chapel with me, and that wasn't part of the basic set. And also another difficult one. Can't remember which one I took, but anyway, another difficult one. And the reason that I took two difficult ones is because I knew that if I could teach Juliana how to make the difficult ones, then I could send her extra ones and she would be able to put them together. So that was very exciting. And we put two new additions to the village together as well at the same time. So it was great fun all around. I must say, I'm glad I did it. Everybody had a task. Everybody seemed to enjoy what they were doing, which was good. They stayed way longer than I expected to. I kept trying to shut it down, and they were saying, no, let's do some more. So we did. But there still was more that they could take home with them and do in time for Christmas. And I said, hey, if you want to give a couple of the trees away to your friends, that's fine. If you would like to do that. Obviously, one of the things that you will all be aware of is that the noise level when you've got 5 girls under 11 is interesting. And the thing is, I really realized how I had grown between originally having Juliana scream at me and I panicked, to now being amongst 5 girls that were all, having a moment at different times and sometimes together and not actually reacting to it at all. And I said to Judy at one point, I cannot believe the difference in me. And she said, in what way? And I said, well, 11 years ago, I would not have been able to cope with this. I would be in big trouble. And now I just know it's noise. And I tune it out. I cannot believe how I can tune it out. And she gave me such a big hug. It was so cute. And then, of course, the other thing that you probably all want to know is, you remember I made them all individual soaps with their initial on it. That was a huge hit. I didn't expect it to be as big a hit as it was because it was soap. I mean, not really that exciting, but apparently it was. So, and again, little Leah went rushing off. Once she knew what it was, and we told her, it's for washing your hands, she went off to go wash her hands. And no, I don't have a pass. Kimmy's asking, did we go to Seattle? No, Kimmy, I said at the beginning, and you missed that obviously, that they came into Canada for me because I haven't got a passport anymore. I've lost mine. Anyway, so little Leah rushed to go and wash her hands, which was fun. And then it wasn't fun because then she picked up Mia's and used that. Mia was not amused. Not amused at all. As you can imagine, right? It was her soap and nobody else was meant to use it. So a little bit sad from that point. I was amazed at the teamwork all around. By the way, some of you are going to notice ads coming up. It's a new thing with Google. I cannot not do it. It's part of what you have to do. Actually, I think it says I can skip the ads. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I just skipped the ads. So what I found fascinating with it all, though, is the teamwork that we managed to do. Obviously, Benji's going to do the cooking, or Judy was doing cooking, but I just kept trying to find things that I could do. Sweeping up is something I could do, sort of small things. So the food was phenomenal. I know that Benji particularly asked me what would I like, and I asked him to cook me noodles because he really cooks such great noodles, and he did. Really good. That's normally he would have expected me to say steak, but I decided nope, I wanted to have noodles, and we had wonderful noodles that night. I always listen to things that Benji has to say in the sort of off moments, you know what I mean, when he and I are just chatting together. And we didn't have a lot of time, but one of the things he said to me, and I thought I'd share it with you because it was so meaningful. And he said somewhere along the line that part of the problem we have today is nobody really breathes through their noses anymore. And that's why we get affected by a lot of things. Why? Because our noses are our built-in filters that are meant to protect us from dust and viruses and everything else. But if we are constantly breathing through our mouths, are any of you thinking about that right now and realizing that you're breathing through your mouth, not through your nose? Did any of you just check that as I was talking about it? And those of you who are watching on the replay, if you also checked it, just leave a comment and let me know. So how many of you agree that we spend more time now breathing through our mouths than we do through our noses? Now, part of the reason is that I know the reason I'm breathing through my mouth is because I'm congested. So the reason I'm congested is because I'm not breathing properly. Interesting. And so how many of you have, seen those things where they said concentrate on your breathing and breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth? Benji said concentrate on breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your nose. I want to tell you, ever since he told me that, I have really been concentrating on being aware of how I'm breathing. And I'm checking in about once an hour and going, how are you breathing? Right now I'm talking to you and I know I'm breathing through my mouth because it's easier. So that's my goal now, is to relearn how to breathe through my nose. And I don't know if I can talk and breathe through my nose at the same time. Can you? Try that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, it sounds so stupid, but I don't think I can breathe in and talk at the same time. Breathe in through my nose and talk at the same time. Try that one, see what it comes like. One of the other things that was so awesome was that some family members came to visit. And that was like a December reunion. You know what I mean? It was just like there were faces I hadn't seen since December, and I don't think we've done December in 6 years, right? So that was like a reunion, and it was just magical. And of course, got even noisier then because you had big people that talk a lot, and loudly, and so that was. It was quite something, but it ended up that everybody went downstairs and we were playing ping pong, and I have not played ping pong in probably 50 years, but I got to play ping pong, and I didn't do the coin toss. Everybody did the hula hoop, and I thought, no, not everybody. Half the people did the hula hoop, and I'm thinking, no, I don't think that's a good idea with my back the way that it is now. It probably would be a really good thing for me to do for my back, but not in front of an audience, because I would overdo it in front of an audience in trying to prove that I could do it. But I was thinking it actually probably is a really good thing to do for your back, right? Or even pretend that you're doing a hula hoop. Can any of you remember those days? Are any of you old enough to remember those days? Because we used to do it big time. And but obviously the kids do it as well when they're at school and so forth. So a really good exercise for the back, I would think. So Jody, can you check that out for us and just see, is hula hoop actually good for your back? Because I have a feeling that it would loosen up all those. Yeah, I think I might be doing more of that. The other thing I really was aware of was one-handedness. And the reason that I say that is because, yeah, Leah was learning how to do the hula hoop. Yeah, that's right. It was great fun. One-handedness, because almost all the time you would see Benji or Judy carrying Leah or Isabella. And, I just was mesmerized. Now, I'm certain all of you who've had children, and unfortunately I was not able to, but, for all of you who've had children, you will know this one-handedness thing. But, to watch how they cook, how they do everything, just, holding a baby here and then doing everything else with the, it just blew my mind. And I was going, you learn so many things in having children, especially having a lot of children. And the other thing was I realized that, we had a discussion about that in terms of the extended family and how important an extended family is. You remember we talked about that when I was having that discussion about the documentary, The Blue Zones, that having an extended family or a big family is a really important part of longevity. And why? Because first of all, you've got more people to help do things, but also as you get older, you've got a bigger support group. And as you get elderly, you still have, hopefully, a generation behind you that is big enough to look after you and so forth. And so we really were aware of the extended family, that the amount of people there helping one another. And I just kept thinking about what great teamwork it was. And it was, quite honestly, it was almost seamless how easily everything went. It was, at one point they took the children off to the park and they, obviously invited me to go with them. And I said, no, I'm going to take the break. I'll just, I hadn't slept well the night before. And I said, I think I'll just, catch a nap while the children are doing that. And I enjoyed it. All right. So Judy, thank you. She said hula hooping. You are strengthening and toning those all-important core muscles. This helps prevent back problems and counterbalance the negative effects of too much sitting and slouching. Thank you. I had a feeling it was a good thing to do. Yes, Jeannie's saying even Bella has to learn to clean up and do tasks. Yep. And that's what I found, that, doing tasks for these children isn't a punishment in any way. It's part of the meal. All right, so Jody's saying, if you decide to do the hula hoop, or even if you pretend to do the hula hoop, make sure you do it in both directions. Thanks, Jody. You are a star, honey. Thank you so much. But how many of you, that's what my feeling was, that maybe that is a good thing for us all to do, right? Is to pretend we're doing hula hoop, even if you haven't got one. And just do it carefully so you don't overstrain anything, but just do it in both directions. Thanks, Jody. I'm going to add that into my daily routine. I really appreciate that. Some memories are unforgettable, remaining ever vivid and heartwarming. That was definitely how I felt. Now, you know what they had there that I had never had? They had a Nespresso machine. Think George Clooney, right? The ad. Now, it looks really good on the ad, right? It comes out and it have that crema on top and it just looks so good. Guess what? It does the same thing when you do it at the rented house. I was blown away. I went, really? It was so different in terms of coffee that when this breaks, which we know eventually it will, I may actually invest in an espresso machine, because the taste of that coffee, hi Sandy, the taste of the coffee and the look of it was just totally different. The taste was really good. Now we know it was really good coffee because, Benji and Judy are big into good coffee. So that was awesome. So we had a lot of fun and we had a lot of memories just generally doing things. Do any of you have any sort of questions at this point? The weather was, the weather had been horrible and the weather just cleared up for the weekend. It was wonderful. And the machines are super cheap there. Unfortunately, not here. Right. I agree. They're pretty expensive, but you know something? For the coffee that it makes, I still think it's pretty cheap. And that's what blew my mind, was the quality of the espresso coffee. So one of the things I found out, only 30 euros? Are you serious? Yeah, we'd have one in every room at that price, right? One of the things I found out over the weekend is Juliana had never had poutine. And I said, Juliana, that's a Canadian thing. That's like telling me you've never had a burger. And I said, and we have to change that. Oh, Sandy's saying she was very tempted to bring one back. Sandy, you should have done, right? At that price, I would have brought 6 back and sold them at profit. Anyway, so I said to Juliana, we need to change that. So what I did is, when we were all leaving, again, we went in 2 different cars, but guess what? We found out that the wait, we had to be out of the house at a certain time, but the wait at the border at that time was 2 hours. So what we did is we all decided to go and have a meal together. And I said, that's good, because now we're off to go, and we're going to go to the White Spot, very, very Canadian. And we are going to have Juliana taste poutine. There is something about walking into a restaurant with the Travis family of 8, including me, that sort of rocks everybody's boat a bit, but their children are so well behaved, absolute pleasure to take them anywhere. And very kindly, a couple moved so that we could all sit along the one end of the restaurant. And I was so grateful that they did that for us. And so then I said, okay, had to shut Benji down in a hurry and go, Benji, this is my meal. I promised Juliana, and I asked at the beginning of the weekend whether I could take everybody for a meal. And I said, this is the meal. What amazed me was how well they all ordered. Mommy and Daddy did not order for anybody. Oh, I lie. I think, obviously Judy decided what Leah and Isabella, but everybody else ordered their own and knew exactly what they were ordering. And I said to Juliana, order the poutine in case you like it, knowing that if you don't like it, we'll order you something you do like, and I'll take your poutine home. There was method in my madness. Well, she finished her poutine. I was really quite happy about that. And so I said, okay, fine. Now you've had poutine. Now you know what I'm talking about. And now you'll know why I like it so much. And she did. That was awesome. Anyway, so after the meal, we all went in our different directions. And Benji, Juliana, and Leah, and I, actually, did we have Isabella with us? No, I think Isabella went with Mommy on the second trip. Anyway, so they came to bring me home, and I just said to Benji, just hold on 1 second. I hate to delay him, but hold on 1 second. I don't know why I needed to show Juliana my house. She'd never seen it, and she's an artistic, crafty person, so I wanted to make sure that she saw where I do my crafts and my home. And it was so cute because she was so excited to see it. She said, "It's such a big house. It doesn't look big from the outside." And I said, "No, no, it's not that big." She said, "Yes, it is." I said, "No, not that big." And I could show her the soaps and where I make them, and show her where I was, confetti corner, she loved, of course, and all the different bits of the village, which she just blew her mind. And I said, "So now, I'll be able to send you pictures and you can decide which ones you want to add to your collection." So that was fun. And then I had to say goodbye, which was a memory, because again, I had to remember that the chances were I would see them all again. But, it was like I also was aware I might not. Who knows? Who knows whether we have another chance of this? And so to me, it was so meaningful. And I was so thankful, and on so many different levels. But I wanted to just ask you all to think about, why does a trip like that do so much for your mental health? What do you think? All right, where the first thing I want you to think about is the fact that they brought the whole family across a border, rented a house, just so the could, two children could meet me, basically, and the others revisit me. That is a gift that I did not take lightly. All right. And the memory was that they loved me that much to do that. That was the memory I took from that. And I, probably thanked them way too many times, but I did thank them a lot and made sure that they knew I was very aware of the organization that it had taken and the time that it had taken. Yeah, Jeannie's saying, seeing dear friends, having new experiences, sharing and showing love. Yeah, there were so many fun parts to it, although it was very short. We met up on Friday evening, and, we parted in the afternoon. Hi, Nyasha. And we parted again Sunday lunchtime. But, it was just like we we did so much in that short space of time, and we felt so much. That's what I was really amazed at, how much we felt. I didn't see the news once during that time. That tells you how busy we were. We didn't we had the television on most of the time, but it was basically to entertain the littles, because the rest of the time we were all busy doing stuff. And so my memories were how important families are. Even if you don't have one, adopt one. Luckily, I got to adopt a big one. Because, yeah, I agree with you, Jeannie, that showing love was something that was really a very big part of the weekend, right? I got more hugs. And, it was, as you can imagine, it was a case of little Leah found out that I was the purveyor of food snacks every now and then. And that was very interesting because after a while she realized, if I go and visit that lady, I get snacks. Sometimes, right? Or I get some fruit, or I get whatever, right? And it was just so cute watching her mind work. Maybe I wasn't so scary. So then every now and then I'd say, "Do I get a hug?" Nope. Okay. Do I get a kiss? Nope. Okay. But, to me, it was part of the game that we played. And it was just such wonderful memories of that. And, even little Isabella, stopped screaming at me. Yeah, Ginny's saying I'm one of the grandmothers, so special. And if you think about it, they've lost a grandmother. All right. They lost Judy's mom. So the fact, and Benji had mentioned that to me in one of the conversations we'd had on the phone, which is, you know, they really need, another grandmother, but, because they've lost one. So I'm aware of that. And what I wanted to make sure is that we all had fun together. And when I said we all had fun together, I really spent very little time talking to Benji and Judy. I spent most of my time playing idiot things with the girls wherever I could. So, just awesome. And I encourage you all to make a point of visiting. It's Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. And I am going to be I've got Yvonne and Wade coming over tomorrow. And I'm going to be visiting my neighbors on Monday, which is our Thanksgiving day. And they've got their family over. And you understand what that does for our psyche, right? You've got different people, you're talking different things, different viewpoints, whatever. And it is as important to listen to different viewpoints as it is to give them. And so therefore listening is a really important part of this. And one of the things I've always said is that, listening to Benji, just in those few moments of quiet, when you can get him talking about stuff, listening to him and his wisdom is amazing. And, the tables, have turned on that one, because he always used to listen to me for wisdom, and he still does, actually. But, you understand what I'm saying. His wisdom comes from a different place, and it has to do with health and fitness and all the rest of it. So obviously they were delighted to see me as well as I am. And I said, you want to be really grateful we didn't do this 6 months ago when I was on that other drug. And I kept thinking how grateful I was that I had managed to change drugs, and this drug, doesn't do the things that the other drug did. And, because, it wouldn't have been the same experience if I'd been feeling, the brain fog and the lack of energy and everything. All right, so Sandy's saying she has to go right now. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you. Yes, you too, Sandy. And she's wishing everybody a good weekend. So bye for now, Sandy. Thank you for popping in. All right, so now I wanted to tell you a little bit about, it's taken me a couple of days. I remember Jody saying to me, give yourself a couple of days to recover. Oh, okay, interesting. Jeannie's saying, because York had the bad stroke on Thanksgiving, John no longer wants to celebrate the holiday. I disagree. And we'll have people over if they want to come. Yes, Jeannie. What I find so good is that you are learning that what other people don't want to do doesn't necessarily mean you don't have to do it. And I'm glad that, you can, John, I'm certain you see his point. But I also know that it's no disrespect to York, all right? This is, you are celebrating all the happy Thanksgivings you had together. So, and your tradition, I know you've always invited people over for Thanksgiving, for as long as I've known you. So to continue that tradition, I think is really, really important. So well done. I'm very proud of you for that. So, you look at it and go, it's, if we get too tied up on other people's needs, we don't satisfy our own. And one of the things I said all weekend is I feel incredibly selfish right now. All right. Because I just had such fun. There's no doubt, and you guys know that, right? I had such fun. And luckily, so did the children. But, it was definitely very selfish in a lot of ways. But I want to go back to this point that Jody made to me. When I got back, she said, you don't think that you did a lot, but you probably did. And you're probably going to be exhausted for a couple of days. And you were absolutely right, Jody. I've been going in and out of sort of, I think I'll take a nap now. But the good news is my mentality has really been awesome. And that for that, I'm sure you can all feel it, right? That I really had fun, and the kid in me had a lot of fun, and I was spoiled rotten time and time again. You see, it's not with presents or anything. They spoil me rotten with love, and you know, what can I say? And I spoil them rotten with different things, all right? And what I think is so important is that that's why we need to work really hard over the fall and the winter to keep social. I don't care what excuses we have. Keep social. I was thinking about the fact that Jody and Lionel every now and then go to play bingo. And, I was thinking if you only got to do that once a month, it's a really good thing to go do, right? I know it's as difficult when the weather's bad and everything else, but it is a really good thing to do. All right, because it gets you out of that house, it gets you around people, it gets you laughing and the excitement of it all, or not. Um, I personally find bingo very, very stressful. I'm sitting there with my 3 cards and everybody else has got about 26 of them, and I'm going, how do they do that? How do they do that? I guess they get them all in one line so they can do it, but it's just like, really, I struggle with 3. Um, But the important thing is it made me realize that this fall and winter, I am going to go out of my way to, even if I can't go visit other people, that I invite them to visit me. And so that's my goal. And it's a really important one. So think about that. And I'm not just talking for Thanksgiving. I'm talking about, I am busy right now filling up my calendar with visits from people. And I'm trying to get at least one person visiting me every week if I can, between now and the spring. Think about that. Now, I found out some interesting things this week. Did you know, I didn't know this, did you know that Bill Gates individually owns the largest amount of US farmland? He personally owns, well, I don't know whether he personally or his company, but he owns more U.S. farmland than any other one person. And I'm not sure how many acres he's got, quite honestly, um, because I didn't make a note of that. But I found that interesting. And then, of course, being me, why would Bill Gates buy up all the farmland that he could? And my first answer was because, farmland gets sold for development. So therefore a huge investment. And then I went, no, money is not something that Bill Gates needs. So he did not buy farmland for development. Maybe he bought farmland to stop development in to keep that farmland as farmland. What do you think? When you think about what he has done with his money, all right, you understand the interest on his money every month is so huge he couldn't spend it if he tried. Yes, Jeannie, that's what I think. Jeannie is making the comment to save the farmland from the Chinese. Yeah, or any other entity, all right? He wants to save the US farmland. But I went, what an incredible investment of your money, because it will continue to grow in value exponentially, but also it protects it. And do you guys in the States have what they call it, blah, 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 a land that is protected? You can't, it's you're not allowed to build on it. It stays. It's like grandfathered to be farming land. And I'm not sure if you have that in the States. We definitely have it in Canada, where certain areas are considered arable land, and it's protected. Okay, so you do have that in the States as well. All right, so really important to know that. All right, that is something that goes on. But I was thinking, and I keep thinking about this. If ever you had children or grandchildren and you had a bit of money, is it not true that the greatest present you can ever buy them is a corner lot somewhere in the middle of nowhere? And when I say somewhere in the middle of nowhere, I mean, think about when you were a kid where the town finished and the suburbs started, and then where the suburbs stopped and farmland started. All right. If you can think back that far. And I'm thinking about, I've lived in Canada for 30 something years now. And I'm thinking when I came to Canada, in the area where I live, how much of it was built up? Not very much. So that's in a generation, right? 30 years. When I say a generation, but that's, if you imagine that somebody had bought a corner lot round about where I am now, 30 years ago, it would have been, now what do you have to do? You have to pay the rates and taxes on it, but you also have to make sure it gets mowed in the summer, that the grass gets cut so it's not a fire risk. But other than that, you don't have to do a whole lot. Maybe keep the fence up so that it's protected, but that's about it. But you also agree, and this is going back on the Bill Gates thing, that in 30 years you will be a millionaire, or your child that you bought it for will be a millionaire. Now, the good news would be not to sell it to the child. I mean, not to give it to the child, but tell them you've got it in trust for them. And they will keep coming after you to say, can you sell that land for me? And no, it's not yours yet. All right. But you imagine that. And quite honestly, even if you, in your mind, kept that acre, let's say, for all your children or grandchildren or whatever, the value of it is something that they can leverage, right? You can go to a bank and go, hey, I own the corner lot at 10th and 15th. And its value is da-da-da-da. To me, a very, very clever present. Even if you never gave them another present in their lifetime, it's that I am about to buy you a piece of land, but I'm going to hold on to it and look after it, make sure it gets properly looked after until you are old enough to value it. Not old enough to use the value of it and sell it immediately, to value it. And then you will be able to use the value of it to then buy a second one for your children. Think about that. All right. And then do the same for your children. That it would be an incredibly good investment on a lot of levels. Now, I saw something else this week that blew my mind. All right. Are you ready to have a guess at something for me? There was a parking stall. You know what I mean? An underground parking stall in Whistler. Now, for those of you who don't know, Whistler is where Canadians held the last, not the last, but they held the Winter Olympics a few years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it was. Probably 12 now, but it was a while ago. But the Winter Olympics were held in Whistler. So, Whistler is our premier ski resort area here in British Columbia. So I want you to give a bit of a thought because a parking stall recently sold in Whistler. Nothing fancy, just a regular, if you imagine you drove into Walmart or something and underground parking, just a regular store. How much would you guess that a parking stall in Whistler would go for today? Boom, 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 boom. Please guess. A parking stall. Not even a corner one. didn't even have an area at the back of it where you could store things. It was just a regular parking stall. And here we go. Are you ready? That parking stall, I'm still shaking my head, sold for $195,000 Canadian. I don't know what that is in American dollars, but you can imagine probably about 150,000 US, I would think. Hang on, let's do the math. Hold on, let's see if I can do that for you. What is $195,000 Canadian in US dollars? Okay, 142,736,000 US dollars. A parking stall sold for $142,737, if I round it up. How many of you are going, that is insane? So if you buy an apartment with a parking stall and you own the parking stall and you happen to buy it in the right area, you imagine. I mean, I'm shaking my head on that one. I don't know about you. So let me go back as we just think about this. Memories are things that you cannot buy. They're created. They are what we value something at. All right. So, for example, not everybody would have valued going to the white spot, but the children had never been to a white spot. So Benji was interested in the history, and I was telling him about the triple O sauce, and it got built around the fact that they made these. It was a drive-in originally, and they made this incredible triple O sauce that went on the burgers, and from that, a whole restaurant chain was built, and the girls had pirate boats that were really great, and it was like everybody had their memory of that meal. Everybody had their memory of the soaps. I had soap. I had a poof type thing for Judy. I had traveling soaps for Benji. Everybody had their memory of the soaps, and it was time. And I'm glad I took the time to create those memories for them. They, in turn, gave me so many great memories. How many of you know? A picture paints 1,000 words. And if we never got another group picture again, what a great picture, right? And you probably wonder how many takes it took to get that one. 2. And the first one, Isabella looked away just at the last moment. So Benji took a second one. And I'm going, we're all happy in that picture. And it's just like, what a memory. It was exciting to do the picture, quite honestly. It was like, okay, everybody, let's do this. I've got a second picture, which I will show you next week, if I can print it out for you. With the girls, maybe you've seen it, but with the girls all holding their soaps, which I didn't orchestrate, Judy did. I didn't say that, but Judy insisted that we get a picture of all the girls holding their soaps up. But it was the way that they all sort of held them like this, and it was very, very special. And so what I want to remind you of is that memories sometimes take a bit of organization. But it is worth every moment you spend. And I'm talking to you about this at this time of the year because this is a great time of the year to create memories. All right. Now, some of you will know that Yvonne now comes to visit me every month to do the arm measurements that I have to have done every month, to make sure I'm not getting lymphedema. I had a mastectomy a year ago. Hey, can you imagine that's nearly a year now. And every month I need to make sure that my arms are, that this arm, because this is where I had the mastectomy, is not starting to get lymphedema. The reason I mention that is because Yvonne knows I can do that myself if I need to. Right? It's not easy, but I can do it because I have to measure 5 times up each arm in different places, right? 5 different places. And it's very specific. There's a special marker stick that I have, to make sure. But what we've done is we've created this monthly get-together. And something happened recently where I said to Yvonne, I can do it myself. She said, no, you're not doing it yourself anymore. And she realized that she enjoys coming because once a month she gets to visit. And once a month we get to eat together and update each other on what's going on at a different level. We talk most days, but it's different when it's face to face. There's a different memory there. And I have this memory now, whereas I've lived here for some years and, I've never had a visit from Yvonne every month. It's just like, this was almost worth getting sick for. And then I think about the memory of the fact that a year ago, just about, I went into surgery. And I'm thinking how grateful I am to have that memory and that I survived it, that I'm good as far as I know. And the memory of how terrible that first drug was on my body and touch wood. How different the second drug is. And I can feel that memories lift your soul. All right. So if you're feeling a bit down, do something to create a memory, either for somebody else or with somebody else. And I think you all know that creating the soaps for the children took a lot of my time, but it gave me a lot of pleasure. And I didn't mind if they didn't like them, right? The making was about, I want to spend the time to give them something special. The interesting thing for me was how they reacted when the first soap came out, and I didn't have them all individually wrapped in boxes. I just had them in tissue paper. So the first one came out and I said, oh, apparently somebody here has a name beginning with an M. Mia said, I do. I said, oh, this must be yours. And then by the time the second one came out, they realized that every soap was going to have an initial on it. And that created a real buzz. It was really funny. And then each of those initials had a different fragrance in them. So, you know what I mean? It was just like they all were smelling each other's soaps. And it was a memory. I'm glad I did it. Really glad I did it. And I said to Judy, when we'd finished with the platter, I said, honey, you can just wash up the baking powder and just do it again, when you get home. No. She said, you know what else I think I'm going to do, Mama Sal? And I said, no, what's that, honey? And she said, I'm going to put the year underneath the plate, so I don't forget the year we did this. Don't know about you, but that touched my soul. Because that told me the depth to which Judy felt the love. And so when you look at it, memories are simple or not. For them to create the memory of my being able to meet all the children together, that took a lot of time, money, and effort. But, I got a sense that they felt it was the least they could do to help make that possible for me to meet everybody. And I hope it's not the last time. The other thing I found out with Juliana was that Juliana was struggling with something at school. And I got to help Juliana learn something, but I also challenged her to continue the learning that we were doing. And when she'd mastered that particular thing, to let me know, and we'd get on Zoom and talk about it. You see, I'd forgotten that part of being a grandmother is to help teach them things. And the interesting thing was, I don't think anybody realized she had the problem on this particular area because it actually surfaced in a different way. And I sat with her for quite a while to work out where the problem was. And when I realized where the problem was, I said, okay, Juliana, we are going to fix this. You and I are going to fix this. And she said, you can? And I said, yeah, you can. With my help, you can. You can fix this. But if I hadn't had the time with her, if I hadn't had the time to identify where the problem was, I wouldn't have been able to help her. And now, of course, it is my job to stay interested in that and to keep checking in with her to make sure that she is continuing the work if she wants to. And that is another thing. How important it is to give people choices. Remember the making of the trees. Who wants to color? Who wants to do quality control? And so forth. It's like people love choices. Give them choices. I'm going for the Thanksgiving dinner. And I said, what can I bring? The obvious answer is nothing. Yeah. And I said, fine. And then, about 12 hours later, I wrote, would you prefer I bring this or this? And then I got an answer. It's like, help people. I didn't want to go empty-handed. So I won't go empty-handed. Make memories. Make memories that involve how much you love them. I had a really good example of that this weekend. And I know that my life is better for it. I know my mood is better for it. I said to Judy after we, the day later, I wrote to her and I said, words will never, ever express my gratitude. And she wrote back and said, no, but your joy sure did. So makes sense. They could feel the joy that they created. And that's their memory, that they did that. So wonderful, wonderful time. I hope we do it again. And it's another reason they were so aware of, the fact that my body was, having a bit of problem here and there, especially my hips. And they was just so aware of things, but they didn't pander to it. You know what I mean? The one thing was going down into the playroom underneath, the huge playroom underneath. That staircase was really steep and it didn't have a handrail. And the first time I went down there, I literally had to go down holding my body against one wall to make sure I had some support because, as you know, I've got a hip that's a bit funny. And I realized that it was probably a little dangerous for me. And Judy noticed it and said, you're not to do that again, MamaSal. I said, what, I'm not allowed to come down here again? She said, no, you're not allowed to come down on your own again. Yeah. And the next time I had to go up or down, Juliana was there with me. And the next time one of the guys was with me. So again, they got to see that as much as I am willing to be active and fully engaged, there are some things that my body just is not doing as well. And had it had a handrail, it wouldn't have been a problem for me. I could have faked it really well. But because there was no handrail to balance on, that was difficult. All right, so I'm going to get out of here, and hopefully you got a real sense of what a wonderful time I really had and how grateful I am to the family for it. And um, how much I'm looking forward to the next visit. Manon, comment ça va? For those of you who don't know, Manon joins us from France. I don't know how long you've been listening, honey. By the way, oh, interesting. Kimmy says, I get scared going downstairs too. Yeah. Jeannie saying, thanks for the great broadcasting. Glad for the visit. Yeah, I am too. And Jody, thank you for sharing the visit with us, Sal. Well, how could I not share it with you? Right? You guys are all part of the story over the years. So thank you all. And thanks for your patience. I have no idea what was going wrong with the broadcast, but it was interesting that Jody also had a problem. So, yeah, Manon's saying it was good. I was listening to the part of the soap story. Yeah. And Nyasha, when is your operation? Do we know? All right, so Kimmy's saying, right, her eyes are not good and she has bad hips as well. So she understands that. Yeah, and Jody also understands that, right? Having all kinds of issues here too. Right, so this is about, but the thing is, did I do my absolute best, including playing ping pong? Now, was I a bit concerned about ping pong because of the my back and my hips? But you know what I said? I was playing with Mia, and I said, Mia, I can't move as fast as I would like to, but I really want to do this. So, some things, luckily, Mia wasn't, she's got good eyeball coordination. And I said to Benji, you may want to put her into tennis next because she has that ability. And she obviously loved playing ping pong. But, I didn't try to be, the world champion. I just tried to enjoy it and realize that every time I moved, I was exercising my back. And that was something I saw somewhere. And I just want to tell you that for those of you who are interested. I saw somewhere that if you want to exercise your back, imagine I've got a wall behind me. And it said, what you want to do is turn and touch the wall. Get the idea? And then turn and touch the wall. And do that, like 50 times every day. And you will keep your spine. And I'm busy doing that. Another good thing to do is you go through a door jamb, all right? Hold onto the door jamb and just stretch out this part of your body and your legs. Just keep your legs where they are. Hold onto the door jamb and just lean forward. All right? You understand? So there's so many things we can do and need to do to keep our bodies supple. I need to do more. I have been very lazy in doing my steps. No, I haven't been lazy. That wasn't true. But now I am busy back into, I want to do at least 6,500 steps a day, and I want to work my way back up to 8. And preferably more over the winter. All right. Kimmy's saying, I get cramps on the sides of my chest. Both sides? And do they know why you get those? Oh, Manon's asking, which part of your back hurts the most? It is the lower part of my spine. I was in a car accident many years ago when I first came to Canada. And I did a mischief then. Okay, so if you get cramps on both sides of your chest and you know what's causing it, did they give you exercises to do to help? I was in an accident, a car accident. I stopped at a light and a guy came full speed behind me and hit me. And funny enough, tried to blame me for not leaving the stop, where I was stopped. Okay, so did you ask Kimmy? I would ask them, your either your primary physician or your specialist, that's dealing with your, um, because there may be a reason because of the pacemaker or something else. But the thing that you want them to tell you is what exercises can you do, to help uh, stop that pain for you. Oh, it could be pleurisy. Is that the word that you're typing? Pleurisy is very dangerous. If you got pleurisy, you need to get that checked out in a hurry. One person medical or one person a friend that you know? All right, now, Kimmy, all right, pleurisy, are you coughing up phlegm or doing stuff like that? Because normally that would be part of pleurisy. Believe me, I know. I've been there, had that. Okay, so think about that. You do need to get a doctor to check it out. All right? The reason I'm saying that, Kimmy, is I at the moment, and it started about a week ago, I have a pain at the bottom here of my lung area. All right, my rib cage, right in here somewhere. I've got a pain, and it's been there for a week. I believe what I did is strain what they call the intercostal muscles. They're the muscles that hold your rib cage um, area. And so I've sort of been checking, Jody's saying, right, pleurisy comes with coughing, and boy, you'll be coughing up phlegm and fever and those sort of things. So if you have sore chest area, it's really important that you get it checked out, especially as you've got heart issues. All right. So don't think that, I don't want to be a wuss. I don't want to complain. It's about you need to get it checked out in case it's something important. Of course, it's important. It hurts you. All right. So please, as Jody would say, do the self-care. Right. So you're saying that you think yours are pulled muscles as well. What makes you think that? Because to me, to pull muscles on both sides, that would be quite unusual. Did you fall? Yeah, Jody's saying, be your own best advocate. I promised myself that if it, you know, I've had it happen before. It happened to me, Jody. I don't know if you remember, about a year ago, it happened to me, maybe more. And that's what it was. It was an intercostal muscle that I'd done something during the night and I pulled it, and I must have done it again. And it's the same area, same thing. So I know the feeling, and I'm being really aware of am I coughing up stuff? Am I running a fever or anything? And because I am aware of that, and if that continues, I will. Right. So Kimmy, that's interesting. Kimmy's saying when I twist or breathe fast, I get cramps. I said to Jody, it only hurts when I breathe. But the funny thing is, if I lie on the side where it hurts, it doesn't hurt. That's what made me realize it probably is a muscle, right? Because when I'm lying on it, and this is the bit that's being stretched, right? Yeah, breathing deeply. If I'm standing up or sitting down, I will feel it too. So yeah, Kimmy, I relate to that. But I'm pretty aware of my body, and I've had this before, and it feels very similar. However, you do understand if I start getting very feverish or if I start coughing up stuff, I'm going to be getting that looked into. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. I certainly had fun getting there. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, make your own memories. But here's the bigger thing. How about concentrate on making memories for other people? Because you think about the joy that Benji and Judy brought into my life with their decision to bring all the children up to meet me. All right? Think about that. Think about the organization that was necessary. Think about all that they did to make that possible. And I will never be able to thank them sufficiently, except through my joy. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, let's make memories for other people and thereby create memories for ourselves. Thanks for your help, everybody. And Jeannie, thank you for hanging in there and helping until Jody could get online today, Jody being our admin. And so for all of you, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Sunday. And let's hope that the connections are better. Bye-bye for now.